Hi folks, I'm Sarah Marshall, your operations architect, and this is the first in the Value Delivery Spine series. When I was a young leader coming up in industry, I worked with an executive who would regularly stop discussions and say, what's the problem we're trying to solve here? And that would force us all to align on the thing that we needed to focus on rather than all the things that we're bringing to the table. And we're going to do that same thing here. We're going to define the problem first, and then we're going to talk about the value delivery spine as the solution. So building strategy and delivering high stakes or strategic capability is a high stakes game. There's a lot of vagaries in it. It's complex. There's a lot of handoffs. There's a lot to be pulled together, and the decisions that we make while we are in this process have existential implications to our organization. In other words, the decisions we're making in this process and the work that we're doing could make the organization live or die, or in less dramatic terms, it could certainly put us in a much more difficult position or a much better position. So we want to make sure that we get it right. There are multiple stages in developing strategic capability. They're complex, they require handoffs, they require different expertises in each phase, and there's the potential for misses every time we hand off to the next phase for the next piece of work to be done. So this body of work seeks to demystify the complexities of the value delivery spine, help you understand it end to end, and help you find a way in your organization to implement it so you're delivering strategic capability that is spot on to the needs. So the first problem we deal with in this big, ugly process is that there's a real potential for handoff misunderstandings, misalignments, miscommunications. The lack of end-to-end understanding can cause all sorts of problems. Anybody that's delivered a project has probably seen some version of the swing pictures where one kind of swing is asked for and something completely different is delivered. And that's because the handoffs from each stage have some level of complexity, potential for misunderstandings, different people working on it, and you need everybody to be in sync and in line. Otherwise, you end up with poor understanding of what's needed. We're inefficient in the way we develop it. We deliver ineffective solutions. We have a gross waste of resources, people, capital, money, et cetera, and we end up, instead of putting ourselves in a better position, dulling our competitive edge and putting ourselves in a worse position. So we want to use these dispatches to talk about a way to avoid all that and ensure that we are supercharged to deliver the highest value capability into the organization. Another issue that we're dealing with is that we are reaching out into the unknown and identifying what we believe is our best opportunities to go after. We need to define it in terms of what success would be if we captured this opportunity, how it fulfills our mission, what defines achievement in this process. And if we're a business, what revenues we are driving, and how are we positioning ourselves both competitively and profitably to be able to sustain ourselves to live another day and do it again. But this creates a gap, and that gap is, how do we get there? And that's what strategic direction is for. Developing our strategy, building out durable objectives that may last for years, developing the commitments that we're going to deliver on our next cycle within those objectives, tweaking our business model if necessary, and adjusting our cultural values so that we are in line with pursuing that opportunity, which opens up yet another gap. And that gap is, what capability do we have to get there? Certainly human capability we will always have and drive in that direction, but what frameworks do we need? What infrastructure do we need? How do we need to deploy and allocate our resources? How do we need to build our human capacity in terms of expertise and experience so that we are in the best position to get there? And because opportunities are ever emerging and our strategic direction may adjust a little or may adjust a lot, we are chasing opportunities forever and ever. So we want to have a way to chase those opportunities and fill the gaps in a way that will deliver a success. Another issue that we're dealing with here is the implications of the chase, and that's in time and effort. We're certainly going to take a lot of time to do this and a lot of effort, though early on we are dealing with more of the strategic concepts. So our focus is on really developing those concepts of what is the opportunity and what is the strategic direction we're going to take to get there. And then later on in the process, the work becomes more tactical, building processes, building capability, and delivering it. But there's going to be a lot of it, and if you screw up on one piece, it doesn't necessarily have the same level of risk. It's just a lot. So when we're developing opportunity, it's only a handful of folks in the organization that are pursuing that. The executive team, marketing and sales, maybe a few expertise, but those are the folks that are going to define the opportunity we're chasing. Once that opportunity is defined, we need to build strategic direction. And you can see in our little org chart that we pulled in a few more people from the organization, strategists and experts, to help us develop that strategic direction. But it's still in the hands of a relatively small group of people. Once this is sorted out, then we build capability. And that takes most of the organization, and it takes a long time to do. In this phase, the executive team moves from a working group into more of a monitoring and decision-making group to ensure that we're delivering. And it may look like, because most of our time and most of our effort is going to be in building capability, that's where the risks are, but that's not true. Risks actually hit early on when we're trying to define that opportunity and the direction to get there. Because if we don't get this right, we're going to build a whole lot of stuff that is meaningless. So we need to make sure we get each of these pieces right and reduce the risk up front of building things that we don't need by really nailing down the opportunity and direction we're taking. So the problem is that we could potentially misalign and put in a lot of effort for nothing, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to put in a lot of effort just to end up in a worse position than we were in the first place. The likely outcomes of that is a lot of inefficiency in the work that we're doing, potentially delivering ineffective solutions, and then missing the opportunities we're chasing. We don't want to dull our competitive edge. So how do we address it? We define a clear end-to-end approach with defined handoffs, clear communications, to help us in that effort to deliver on our strategic outcomes. You can read more about this in my article, Translating Strategy into High Performance Capability, in my blog, www.operations-architect.com. Thank you so much. Looking forward to you in my next video.